and they are dancing, the board floor slamming under the jackboots and the fiddlers grinding hideously over their canted pieces. Towering over them all is the judge, and he is naked, dancing his small feet lively and quick, and now in double time, and bowing to the ladies, huge and pale and hairless like an enormous infant. He never sleeps, he says he'll never die. He bows to the fiddlers and sashays backwards and throws his head and laughs deep in his throat, and he is a great favorite. The judge, he wafts his hat, and the lunar dome of his skull passes palely under the laps, and he swings about and takes possession of one of the fiddlers and dances and fiddling at once. His feet are light and nimble. He never sleeps. He says he will never die. He dances in light and in shadow, and he is a great favorite. The judge, he is dancing and dancing. He says he will never die, and never did he, at the hands of the kid who became the man. At the conclusion of Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian, or The Evening Redness in the West, this book, guys and gals, is without question my absolute favorite book/novel ever written, and by Cormac McCarthy no less. Cormac McCarthy is without question my favorite author in this world's existence, and this book right here is so fucking good and so brilliant, and very much a poetry and song of violence and lawlessness of the West, the Wild West, which has long been romanticized by many scholars and authors of their respective works. But Cormac McCarthy, with his book right here, which is so great and equivalent in terms of the impact which this book had in storytelling and the medium of books/novels, just like Moby Dick, the Odyssey, as well as the Iliad and many other great works like those. But this passage right here, this paragraph which describes Judge Holden, aka the judge, dancing and dancing so joyfully, and a giant infant he was, a naked and hairless infant who was so overjoyed after what happened between both he and the kid who became the man years later after their outing and eventual breakup from the Glanton gang, which was led by Captain Joel Glanton, a proud man and patriot who met his demise at the hands of the natives, and Judge Holden, the judge, and the kid who goes by no other name other than the kid. He became the man, and these two men would later meet each other one-on-one years later as they are having drinks, and the judge talks about how the devil dances and dances, and how only a true man who knows the steps and knows how to dance can truly call himself the devil. The kid meanwhile, or rather the man meanwhile, looks at him like a lunatic, understandably so, but the Judge Holden, never saw himself as anything but sane, whereas the kid in his eyes is but young and naive. He is not wrong entirely, because the kid himself is illiterate and not educated, and Judge Holden had always had this huge infatuation with the kid, which is the topic and subject yours truly will talk about in this first episode of a long series in which yours truly talks about and discusses themes and ideas as well as topics relating to Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian, or The Evening Redness in the West. And by the way, guys and gals, for those of you who don't know, this book right here is so dark and so fucking grim, but also fascinating as all hell, especially in the themes and ideas it explores within the tale told, a tale which is so great and epic, the judge's infatuation with the kid, which began when Judge Holden, aka the judge, had first laid eyes on the kid as he and Toad Vine of who was the kid's partner and so-called friend and fellow member of the Glanton gang. Since then, Judge Holden had never taken his eyes off of the kid, which is so weird. The judge has some sick fascination for the kid and whatever it is about him that fascinates him. But guys and gals, one thing that's for sure, it's so bizarre and so unnatural, especially considering how stranger it gets between them, as these two men alongside Toadvine and the other members of the Glanton gang, including Tobin, the ex-priest, and so many other men who joined together to form a gang, a lawless gang in a lawless state, and the kid becomes so desensitized to the violence, and Judge Holden also forms a close bond with Captain Joel Glanton, the leader of the Glanton gang, a man who shares a few philosophy with the judge, and these two are so much alike, and yet the judge is so different from them all, and the judge is someone who is so educated yet so strange and so childlike in his manners. Judge Holden is so freaky in nature, especially the way his feature is described: pale and hairless, tall, and someone who towers over other men, especially the kid of who is 14 years old, but the kid is someone who grew up with violence and basically likes it, but unlike the judge, he becomes more human and later matures and looks at violence with disgust and horror, naturally so, but the judge meanwhile becomes more and more insane. But once again, the judge in his mind believes that he is the most sane and a man who thinks he knows the truth about man, how man can become the devil so long as they dance and know who they are. Judge Holden certainly knows who he is, unlike the kid, and these two have quite a dynamic with one another, a dichotomy which yours truly cannot even begin to dissect and explain to you guys and gals in detail what makes this bond, or rather this dichotomy between them, so fascinating and so remarkable, especially in the way Cormac McCarthy writes their conversations with one another, which once again is so fascinating and goes into very dark areas in the human psyche and how man can become so dark and so evil because darkness exists within all of us, and darkness can be found throughout Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian or the Evening Redness in the West. The kid may be the main protagonist, the central focus of this story, Blood Meridian, but the judge is the true main character of this tale, this very dark odyssey of these two men and their meeting with each other until the very end, in which we never know the fate of the man and whatever happened between them. In the last section of this book, Blood Meridian is left open to interpretation. The man had become more mature and someone who gained some knowledge despite the fact that he remained illiterate and uneducated, but through experience you can still gain knowledge, and when you gain knowledge you also gain a better understanding of yourself and who you are and your purpose in this world. But what exactly is the reason behind Judge Holden's infatuation with the kid, now turned the man? I still have no idea to this day, but that's exactly what this book is so good at, leaving things open to interpretation. Judge Holden, though, this man seemingly had homosexual interest in the kid. It's so obvious judging by the way he interacts with him. The kid is creeped out by him, understandably so, and the judge, whether or not he had homosexual interest in the kid or whatever it was he was so interested in, this young man, a 14-year-old boy, turned into an adult years later. It matters not, because their dichotomy is one of the, if not the best part of this novel, and I do recommend you guys and gals read it. Cormac McCarthy McCarthy's Blood Meridian. But thank you guys and gals for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe if you wish, and do check out my gaming channel where I do Let's Play series, gaming content, and so much more. And do check out my review on Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian, the link of which will be down below in the description box. And do check out the other novels which I reviewed. Until next time, peace out, take care, adios amigos, au revoir, and sayonara.